well, today is officially the end of life for Flash. And you might be thinking, really? Wasn't it already dead? And you wouldn't be wrong. The years of prominence for Adobe Flash as a web technology are well behind us. But today, the last day of 2020, marks the official end of support for Flash Player. And in mid-January, Adobe will actively block Flash content from web browsers. In fact, Adobe is actively encouraging users to uninstall Flash Player, and has suggested everyone do so before today. If you were an active internet user in the late 90s or early 2000s, you probably remember just how prominent Flash was. Full Flash websites with animated components, flashy button and link rollovers, and even full motion video. But these websites, as nice as they might have looked, had their issues. They were often not easily crawlable by Google, there were security issues galore, and linking to a specific page was nowhere near as simple as copying and pasting a URL. Oftentimes, people would try to share some content on a specific page or section only to realize the landing page loaded every time. And you'd have to manually navigate to each section each time you wanted to go there. So, while often beautiful, full Flash websites were imperfect at the best of times. But aside from websites, there was an ideal category which worked beautifully for Adobe's Flash technology: games. Remember, this was before smartphones. No casual gaming apps here, only Flash gaming websites. Almost every kid had their favorite games and sites. Newgrounds, Congregate, Addicting Games. These sites were the go-to place to kill time. And who can forget such iconic entries? Bloons, Fancy Pants Adventure, Line Rider, Crush the Castle. The possibilities were virtually endless for Flash games. I should note that there were also some great animations made from Flash as well. Whether it was basic humor sites like Stick Death or the endless parody videos you would come across, a slight chuckle was never far away. Back when I went to college, I jumped headfirst into Flash. I got a job making Flash websites. I loved Flash so much that I would sit all day at work making Flash websites, and then I would go home and spend all evening making Flash games. And today, seeing as Flash will be actively blocked in a mere few weeks, I wanted to take the time to reflect on what I came up with. My game brand was called Crooked Alley. My earliest games were, for a lack of a better term, bad. I mean, they worked, but they certainly weren't that much fun. And I'm okay with that. They were my stepping stones to better productions. One of my earliest was entitled The Poise of Pudgy Pete. Players would use the arrow keys on the keyboard to try and keep Pete balanced on his platform. It would slowly become more and more difficult to do so, and eventually he would tilt too far one way or the other and the game would end. The longer you lasted, the higher score you got. Another early game of mine was They Came from Planet X. It was a basic space shooter. The gameplay was quite repetitive and boring, to be honest, but I remember feeling so accomplished when I finished it. Even though it didn't have ship destruction animations, it did have a basic upgrade system and actual levels. It felt like my first full game. Other early simple games of mine were Grappled and Pong Foursome. Not much to say about these aside from the fact that they were pretty buggy. Slowly but surely, over time, my games got a little better. And I can say with certainty that my logo improved. After some time, I got one of my games sponsored by addictinggames.com. This was a pretty big deal to me. To be honest, I consider myself very lucky. Terror at 88 miles per hour wasn't particularly enjoyable, but I had worked hard on it. It was a pretty mindless experience, run over zombies and leave bloody tire tracks. It was fun for what it was, I guess. But then I got my first huge hit, the Undead Survival Test. This quiz, with skill levels added in for good measure, gave players an analysis on whether they would survive a zombie apocalypse, what role they would play in their gang, and other enjoyable stats related to surviving a Rise of the Living Dead. The game spread like wildfire, which was really exciting to me. I should also mention that, back in the mid-2000s, an advertising platform emerged which allowed Flash game developers to earn money from their games. It was called Mochi Ads. They had really great tools to add leaderboards, advertising, preloaders, and a lot more into your Flash games. So when the undead survival test went viral, it was exciting to feel what it was like to actually earn money from people who were simply playing a free game that you made. It was a wild experience. The undead survival test also saw great improvement in graphics. Not only were my basic design skills improving, but I started working with an ex-coworker who had experience with 3D graphics. The ending of this game featured a fully rendered 3D hallway. And this hallway became the concept for another game, Hell Hall. This was admittedly a simple game, where a player tried to dodge obstacles while running down a never-ending hall. Eventually, it would become too difficult, and a zombie would get you. Oh, by the way, I had quite the zombie obsession at the time, in case you didn't notice. A zombie obsession which led to Zombie Shooting Gallery. Not much to say here either. A basic zombie shooting gallery where you shot zombies and tried not to hit the good guys. It is what it is. Eventually, I made some more driving games as well. Urban Drift, where you drifted cars in an urban environment, and Circuit Metropolis, which was graphically really nice, but lacked gameplay that would actually make you want to play it for more than a minute or two. But at the tail end of my Flash game career, I developed 3 games which I am particularly proud of. Games which I felt actually had it all. Reasonable level of gameplay with decent graphics. Special thanks again to that ex-coworker of mine. First was Cannons of Night. This was a clone of Space Invaders, where players used 2 cannons to fight off oncoming aircraft attacking the floating Sky Island of Night. It wasn't communicated well, but the island was meant to be hovering above the ocean. This game featured a full 10 levels and let players upgrade multiple aspects of their cannons. It was a moderate success as well. I'm really proud of this one. Next was a clone of the Atari Star Wars game, The Empire Strikes Back. It was called Automaton 2015. Players flew a jet fighter against an army of alien robots. They used machine guns, which would overheat, and missiles, which would replenish over time, to destroy a never-ending march of automatons. It was a balance between protecting your airbase by not letting the robots get too close, and flying to the other side of the map to destroy the alien mothership. In the end, it turned out to be a really good clone of The Empire Strikes Back, and again, I'm really happy with this one. And finally, my last game was simply titled Snowboarding. I love the 8-bit style graphics on this one, and this game was inspired by the old Windows classic, Ski Free. Players could choose between race or trick mode, and would need to beat certain times and scores to unlock further levels. Once you understood the controls, this game was actually really fun. You could chain together tricks and even spray objects by carving in the snow. But this game never took off like I'd hoped, though by the time this group of games was being released, Apple's iPhone was out, and the first stab that would end up killing Flash was already in the back of Adobe. Really, I spent years of my life working in Flash and making these games. So this video is more for me than anyone else. It was such a huge part of my life for quite a few years. Seeing Flash come to its official end, well, it makes me sad. And it makes me nostalgic for my game development glory days, even if my catalog was less than perfect. So, the next time you play a game on your phone, do me a favor and think back. Remember the animations, the games, the websites, and the random fun of one of the internet's pioneering technologies. Remember Flash. Do you have any nostalgic memories of Flash, games, websites, animations? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel, give us a like and a share, and maybe even visit our Patreon page. Oh, and thanks for watching.